I have a lecture prepared. So, going into teaching mindset. Okay, so, here's where I'm struggling. I'm really happy with how all of this looks. Everything below this line, I'm really happy with. Everything above this line is not good to me. I don't like the way it looks. And because I can't tell what it is. It doesn't feel tangible or real to me. Okay, so part of that you might be like, oh, but you haven't added color yet. What are you even talking about? Okay, whatever, relax. That's not the point. That's not the problem. And let me explain. First, I'll show you a somewhat decent example. This is when I was like learning how to do glazing. So these are not like necessarily good pieces, but they illustrate the point. Okay. So here we have like, this tree is the best example where you have like a clear gradient and like blotches of color that are like blend into each other. But then you have trees down here that are like, okay, a little bit less defined, but like you can see kind of where it was coming from. I like a lot of this shrubbery over here, and it looks like shrubbery, but it doesn't have that like detail that you might want in like a well-defined nature scene. Like, cause I don't paint like that. I don't do things like that. I've never done things with that amount of detail. And then you've got like this tree down here, which looks pretty bad because there isn't enough consistent contrast. Like when I get the broad strokes of what's happening, when I get larger areas of dark and light, then you can see the difference and you can actually start to understand what's happening. But down here, because this tree is so close to the foreground or is so large just in general, you can't make that. You can't produce that type of feeling. It just becomes a whole muddled mess. And you can see I even like, I'm using the same thing that I did up here. This is all I did this all in like earth tones before I added the colors and the greens. And so, but there's a little bit of white here and you can see how it's just like, it just doesn't fit. And this was really great because there were so many different trees and they were so sparse that I didn't need to focus a lot on getting everything super clear, that it was just kind of going to figure itself out regardless. That's not what's happening here. This looks muddled. Like you could tell what was going on here before I added color. And because you can't see that here, I know that you won't be able to in the final product. Now, an example where I've done this before is this one was also like laying on the ground and like not something I cared too much about, but anyway, it's the same kind of thing. But these trees are completely muddled. You can't see anything that's going on here. I like tried to build some structure into them, but especially back here, like there's just no depth. There's no anything. And so if I know that if I go ahead with what I've been doing here, I'm not going to get a result I'm happy with. So I have to change my approach. That's really the conclusion here, is that I really have to change what I'm doing because this is not working for me. It's not working in general. And because I'm so happy with the rest of the painting, I have to make a change to move forward. I have more. 1 second. Now those were just two different ways to do foliage. There's other things I've done before that I'm confident in. Like here I have a little tomato that I like a lot. I think it's very cute and very sweet, and if you're mean to him, I'll be very upset at you. That's not important. I like this tomato a lot, and I'm kind of trying to bring the same energy into this tomato piece when I do finally get to it. But this has very defined lines because it's so zoomed in that I can make those tiny little adjustments that it all looks real. Not even real, just like it looks pristine, manicured. Like it looks like it's supposed to be there. That's one way of doing things. It's one way I have done things. I obviously can't do that here because it's so it would take more time than it's worth and a level of mental energy where I feel like as I got through it, I would get so upset and so bored by it that I would stop and give up and just be frustrated with the whole thing. So I don't want that to happen. I want to make something that I'm proud of. The question for me then becomes, how do I make this work? I'm really frustrated with it at this point, and I know that it's not going to go the way I want it to if I keep going the way I've been going. I like this. I like this style. I think it'll blend nicely into color. This will not. But I have experience working onto just a flat canvas with full color and knowing that that's going to produce something that I like. And this is not a good example of what I'm trying to express because this I intentionally used a limited palette and made it kind of like very stylized. But I've also done paintings like this. A little dusty. Where like you can see what's going on, you know that this is a tree, or maybe you don't, but whatever, that's not important for this piece. But I've done pieces that are a little bit more abstract, but you know what's happening and it feels better. And so I want to do something that's a mix of those things. I have to approach it differently. And the way I want to approach it is in full color, so that I can build up contrast and differentiation in a way that makes sense to me and my brain, and I can gradually, I'm still gonna glaze on top of it so that it looks uniform with the rest of the painting, but I need to come at it differently. I really need to. So I need to work on I need to work towards my strengths. But it's not gonna be like totally abstract like this one that I showed. It's gonna be like, hopefully something like the texture of her back, but I think it's gonna work out. I think when I think of it as like I'm building a final piece here, whereas this is so obviously underneath for me, it puts me in this headspace of like, oh, I'm not putting all the detail in, and oh, I'm not like, and that's not right, because when I do that, then the final piece doesn't have those details because they weren't in the underpainting and I didn't value them enough and think about them enough. And so I need to move forward with the understanding that this is it. And so this is this is the last section I'm gonna have to do before I start glazing the entire painting. Because I did the snake, I did the bracelet, I did the beads, and those are all things I'm really happy with now. Yeah, it's time to just like make it something I like. I need to make it into something that I like.
So, as a side note, how bent this canvas is, I don't even know if you can see that. That's like a crazy big crack. This is not my finest work.
It's all crooked too. But I was less experienced back then. Anyway, I'll be back. So since the last time we spoke, I have cleaned my palette, got some new mineral spirits, and I brushed over all that with burnt umber. The reason I did that is because I find it very difficult to feel confident in brush strokes when you don't have a already set background. That's why a lot of my past paintings around nature have been like I coat the canvas in red and then I paint on top of it whatever I want to do. I did brown here, which I actually think is more realistic and closer to what I want to do, just so that it gives me the freedom to not have to fill all of the space on the in that area. Like if I leave little lines blank between different brush strokes of green, I'm not going to feel bad about that or feel weird about that because it is a color that still makes sense for the space. And also allows me to get more exact lines and shading with the gaps between other brush strokes. It's going to be a weird day.
Also, I was watching some of the footage last night, and I'm like
saying complete nonsense. I'm like not even saying real words. So I am now beginning to understand why more people that are like craftsmen type people on the internet do voiceovers instead of like whatever I'm doing here, just trying to talk while I paint. It's not as it might be funnier, I don't know. Yeah, like that's what I'm talking about. There's so many thoughts that I just leave unfinished. Like, what are you talking about, dude? A few years ago, I got this Torrid Gray from, I don't know, I guess I bought enough paint at one time that they gave me a limited edition gray. But the way it works is they actually use all the paint that they made in a given year, this company, Gamblin, and then they put it all together. Or maybe they just like clean the machines, and then with that they have an interesting gray paint, and it's different every year because they make different amounts of paint every year. But I think it's really, really cool because it has a lot more life than like another type of gray that I would mix. I don't really know how else to describe it. It's just, it feels like it's got more going on. So I like to use it as like my dark for rocks and stuff like that. I always use like many types of green for something like this. So that to me is already building up way nicer than the brown was. I feel like I have so much more control and so much more freedom in what I do here. I think the white might be hurting me. You know, wipe it off. This has a really interesting feel to it. I've been getting used to it. I'm comfortable with how it looks. I know it's not really in a realm of realism that I think some of the rest of the piece will be in, but I think that's okay. I think the reason why I'm comfortable with that is because it's relaxed. I'm happy with how this is going. It's definitely not in a style I was expecting to paint in. I've never painted like this before. It's a really fun mix between what I do for like skin and bodies and what I normally do for nature, because I use really harsh lines and jagged edges. Like, I mean, I did some of that here, where like you can see very clear, like this is like a square brushstroke that like will stay in there, but up here is a lot more blending. As I go, I think when I do more and more layers on it, it's gonna get less and less defined, versus like normally with, or maybe it'll get darker, more fluid into itself. I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure how it's gonna go, but I'm happy with it right now. I think it's got a lot of character, and I think it's gonna fit the rest of the piece in a fun way. I will also say I'm having so much more fun doing this than I was when I was doing it in earth tones. This is just more enjoyable, which is so worth it. Like, if you don't love it, don't do it, dude. Like, there's a level of like learning and trying something new that's really awesome and really important. But there's also like, it's your work. Make something that you like, that you're happy with. Yeah. That's not right. So you can already see these colors are a lot more dull than these. And for me, what that means is I need to add actual more saturated color to my palette. That's the only way to fix that, really. I can live with that. So that's got some really interesting stuff going on. I think in the end it'll fit the rest of the canvas well. But it was a weird process. It was a very weird process. So, you know, I can live with it. I'm happy. It's done. No complaints. That means that the first coat of paint is done on the entire canvas. Which, you know, if you talked to me a year ago, or I guess more than a year ago, 2 years ago, then I would have told you that it was finished. My goal used to be cover the canvas in paint. Now, it's a little different. Very happy with it, but I am nowhere near done. I think this is arguably like the halfway point. I kind of like this. I like this brown area up here. That's why I left it like this. And I'm really excited about the way it looks, just like leaving it kind of bare. So I might actually not add too much more paint up here. I might not glaze it at all. I might just leave it kind of just like a frayed edge kind of deal. Anyway, so this is like a huge moment. The canvas is covered in paint in a way that I'm happy with. The first layer is done. Super cool. I really haven't been feeling the tomatoes. I don't know what's been going on. I don't know if I'm gonna get to them before I finish this. I think I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna do the next one. I'm gonna do it very like linear, I think. Well, I don't know. We'll see how much trouble this gives me. I'm really excited about this area here. That makes me really happy. The rocks are kind of boring, but like that's kind of just the way that rocks are, so can't be too upset about it. There's a lot of feeling in today's session. So like your headspace is going to change every day, or maybe that's just me. My headspace changes every single day that I work, every single day that I paint. I'm coming in with something different. And today was just a little bit sadder than usual, a little bit more like not negative emotion, just like, I don't know, it's different. And I think I have a history of having a contrast between what I was feeling when I did the foreground and what I was feeling when I did the background. And so this will be filled with what I felt today, and it stuck like that. Anger, pain, sadness. It's important. It's important to know that that is there when I do the rest of the painting. Because it's all going to come together at some point and create a whole. Like right now, obviously right now I've been doing this in sections, but it's going to be whole at some point. It's going to be finished. Anyway, this is probably the end of a video, I think. I don't know how I'm organizing these. But thank you for watching, and wash your brushes. Don't forget to wash your brushes. That's it. Thank you.